Hello, this is the hardcore legend Mick Foley, and you are listening to The Justin Harvey Show. Yeah!
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the World Martial Arts Radio Network. Up next, you will be listening to the USA Martial Arts Hall of Fame Show Host of the Year Award winner, the one and only Justin Harvey, producer, director, and on-air star of The Justin Harvey Show.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Justin Harvey of The Justin Harvey Show. I know it's been a long time since I've done a show. I've got a quick update for you guys before I bring on a good friend of mine. In 2 weeks, I will be taking my rightful place in the USA Martial Arts Hall of Fame, which will be held in Indianapolis. And also, another special announcement, Dawn the Dragon Wilson, kickboxing champion, will be making a special appearance to actually meet me at my induction. Without further ado, let me bring on my special guest who needs no introduction to the Justin Harvey Show, who I consider to be a personal friend of mine. I've got some really good questions for him tonight concerning WWE Network, WCW, and many other questions. Please help me welcome my good friend, Bruce Hart. Welcome to the show, my friend.
Thanks very much for the nice introduction, Justin. It's always a pleasure to guest on your show, and I'm appreciative of the opportunity to come on and share perspectives with somebody that I have so much respect for.
Oh, absolutely, Bruce. That's what my show is all about. But I would like to start with something that's really got my blood a-boiling. I really like the WWE Network. It needs work done to it. But what I'm really steamed about, Bruce, is that you know that you're a personal friend of mine.
Yeah.
And what I'm really steamed about is you guys in Canada don't get the same benefits from the network. It's just on your television. You don't get any of the streaming stuff that we get. You don't get any of you can't go back and watch all the pay-per-views you want. You just get the live stuff, and I don't think that that's right. And I wanted to get your thoughts and opinions on that, because my blood is just a boiling, Bruce, and that don't happen to me very often.
Yeah, well, I'm not sure what their rationale is, Justin. You know, what the, it should be the same everywhere, you know, and I have no idea what's behind the decision. You know, I hope they do something about it, and they maybe if any WWE people are listening to your show right now, they could maybe see fit to text or email you and give you some explanation for why that seems to be not the same up here as it is down there, you know. So I certainly empathize with you, and you know, you make a very good point there. So
yeah,
hopefully something can be done about it.
Yeah, because I hold it highly offensive, you know, because to me, like, you should get all the content that's available, because your family, you know, and I take this personal, Bruce, because you're a friend, but your family should get the same benefits, especially what we get for the network, because you guys put your blood, sweat, and tears in the business.
Yeah, and I totally agree, and I think the fans should have some say in it too, you know. So hopefully that will be a message that gets through to the right people, you know. So. But yeah, I guess, you know, and you told me you had a few other things you wanted to kick around, Justin. So I'm looking forward to discussing, I guess, WrestleMania.
Absolutely. But before I get to WrestleMania, Bruce, I really enjoy the fact that Natalya is in the WWE, but I don't like how they're just using her as a manager. I would like to see her get some more ring time. What's your thoughts on that? Because, you know, I'm really rooting for Natalya, and it's great to see a new generation of hearts in the ring.
Yeah, I'd love to see her get more kind of prime time opportunities. You know, I don't know whether there's some initiative for that to take place or whether she's being, you know, kind of relegated to a quasi-manager role or not. I haven't heard anything one way or the other, but certainly there's not that many divas in there that are capable of having a good match, so I'd love to see her in there. And I might add, pleased to see the legendary UFC fighter Ronda Rousey on there. I thought that was interesting. I don't know where it's going, if it's just a one-shot deal or whatever, but that was interesting, if nothing else, you know. And I thought she handled herself very well. She looked pretty poised, and she and Dwayne Johnson made a great impression. So.
Yeah, exactly. It's like I was discussing with a friend the other day, if she ever decides to, you know, walk away from UFC or, you know, even retire at some point, I think it would be interesting to see her actually cross over to WWE and see what she can bring to the table there.
Yeah, I've heard nothing but very favorable things about her too. You know, I know people that know her, and they tell me she's a first-class individual and a great person. So I'd like to see more people like her coming in and some of the other so-called divas that are nothing more than glorified strippers. So.
Yeah, absolutely, Bruce. And I actually interviewed one of her opponents that she had, Sarah McMahon. I interviewed her last year, and that was my first UFC interview, which I was actually very, very proud of doing. And I'm actually in the process of trying to get a hold of Rhonda after my induction. I'm going to do my best to try to get a hold of Rhonda and get her on the show.
I'm sure if she gets the word, she'd probably be more than happy to come on for you, Justin, and I'm sure she'd be a great guest for you.
Absolutely, Bruce. But what did you think of the Andre Battle Royal? In my opinion, it was good that the Big Show won, but I was kind of pulling for Sandow because I didn't like this angle where he was with the Miz, and Miz was treating him wrong, and it was just, to me, it was just a stupid angle, and I was really pulling for him to win the Battle Royal.
Yeah, to be quite honest, Justin, I'm not a big fan of that whole thing with Miz and Sandow, the Mizdow or whatever. The whole thing seems silly, and it doesn't seem to be going anywhere, and I would rather they not even waste people's time on a big show like WrestleMania to have nonsense like that. But for me, the Andre the Giant Battle Royal was maybe one of the weakest matches on the whole card. You know, there was it was almost in its own way demeaning, because virtually every guy in that Battle Royal had not won a match in recent memory. It was all kind of the guys who were getting beaten, jobbers and nondescripts, and you know, especially coming on the heels of Royal Rumble, which is a big star-studded battle royal. You know, kind of slightly changed the rules, but it's just a battle royal. But so it's almost redundant to have another battle royal right after Royal Rumble at WrestleMania, and then at the very least have all the stars in there if you're going to have an Andre, because Andre was a legendary name, and to me it's more of an insult to him to have a bunch of guys that are just the leftovers on the card, which is all it was. You know, everyone who wasn't in a title match or an important match or whatever seemed to be in that particular match. So for me, they may as well have not even had that match on the card. It would have been just as good, you know, because there was so much already. You know, you don't need to even waste your time with something like that, you know. So, but you know, I don't mind seeing Big Show win, you know. Although for me, I don't want to get off track, but for me, Big Show's been getting beaten, kind of relegated to more of a clown role lately. I feel bad for both him and Kane, who were pretty big stars at one time, and now they seem to be more like, you know, kind of just one step above the Heath Slaters and the you know, the guys that used to be in Nexus and all that kind of stuff, you know. So I don't know.
And I don't, honestly, speaking of Kane, I don't like what they've done with his character. You know, he was the big red machine, you know.
Yeah,
and
they should have just left him like that.
Yeah.
And he's a good guy, Kane. I feel bad, you know. I think it made no sense to me ever that they were having him as the manager of SmackDown or Raw or all that other. It's hard for you to take after you've already seen him as the big red machine, and then whatever else, you know. It kind of same, you know. If they had done something like that with the Undertaker, it would have been, you know, just kind of demeaning and wouldn't have done anything for his image. That's my opinion, but that's the best thing I can say about the two of them. They're still getting paid, so that's good for them, but I'm sure neither of them is thrilled with the way they've been used as well, you know, so I would be.
What did you think of the ladder match that they had? I had a feeling that they was going to give it to Daniel Bryan just by the way they were talking, and I just kind of had that feeling that that's what was going to happen. So.
Yeah, I was satisfied with the match in that respect that Daniel won. I was a little disenchanted with. Didn't seem like there was that much suspense. You know, there was way too many ladders and way too many kind of incidental high spots and stuff, I thought. But giving the wrestlers credit, I thought they all worked hard, you know, and they were all trying to get it over to their credit, you know. So I just hope that Daniel gets a decent chance to kind of revive. You know, he was on an incredible high about a year ago when there were yes, and all like that, and then I feel like his stock has dropped in the last year, not because of him, but I guess because of injuries and whatever else. But I hope he has a good opportunity to do something with the Intercontinental belt. It seems to have lost a lot of its image or its importance in the last year or two. So hopefully he will have an opportunity to kind of use it to his advantage, you know.
And honestly, Bruce, as much as I'm a fan, this angle where people were stealing the Intercontinental Championship, I found it very highly offensive because, you know, I mean, that belt has been held by some of the greatest wrestlers of all time, and I just felt like it was just like a spit in the face at that angle. I didn't.
Yeah, I totally agree, Justin. You know, any of these belts are what you make of them, and if you demean or, you know, take away the image that is attached to them, then it kills them. And I tended to agree in that match, and even more so in the main event, or the Roman Reigns and the Brock Lesnar match. You know, I don't mind seeing Seth Rollins as the champion. Seth's worked hard and he's paid his dues and all like this, but for a world title to change hands at something as contrived and flimsy as that, where some guy comes out with a suitcase at the end of a match when two guys have been busting their asses to fight for the world title.
Yeah.
And then some guy just comes out of the dressing room with a briefcase and walks out with the title is an insult. You know, if I saw that in the Super Bowl game where, you know, Seattle and Denver or whoever are going tooth and nail and having a ass-kicking, blood, sweat, and tears game, and then as soon as one team has just won the Super Bowl and then some team that hasn't even qualified, or, you know, like earlier in the card, Seth had already lost his match, so it doesn't say much for the integrity of the world title when somebody just comes out of the blue, you know, hasn't even wrestled, just gets a cheap pin on Brock or whatever, and then walks out with the belt. If you did that in any other sport, it would be ridiculed and people would be, you know, sneering at it, because it's almost unthinkable. If you did that in UFC, you know, you had two guys, Anderson Silva and, you know, Chael Sonnen going at it, and then just out of the blue, Butterbean or something comes out and sucker punches somebody and pins them, you know. People would be saying this is BS, you know. So
yeah,
which is too bad, because I giving credit where it's due, I thought Roman and Brock had a decent enough match, and I think they're both trying hard, and they'd built to a decent climax, and then to me that just kind of demeaned the belt. And no offense to Seth.
Yeah.
Seth's been working hard and isn't a bad candidate for wearing the belt, but you have to protect the propriety of the belt, and you have stuff like that happening. It just cheapens the mystique of the whole thing, and that's one of the most important things you have, is this, you know, tradition attached to that world title. You know, you've had all these legends like Bruno Sammartino and Bob Backlund and Hogan and Warrior and Brett and Stone Cold and Rock, and all these guys have had that belt, Cena and them, and so it in its own way is somewhat of an insult to them too, because that belt is kind of like the holy grail of what wrestling's all about, and you have to be always, preserving and protecting that image. If, as Andre Agassi used to say, image is everything. So
absolutely,
I think they could have done better than that. Even if they had Seth come out and challenge the winner for Raw the next day or something, it would have been better. But
yeah.
Nonetheless, I thought it was in general a very good show, though. I thought there was a lot of pretty damn good matches, and most wrestlers, to their credit, really busted their asses, worked hard, and I was pleased to see most of the finishes were in the middle. It was pretty straight, not too many swerve finishes or run-ins or extra additives and things like that. So that was a pleasant surprise.
Yeah, and I tend to agree with you on the main event. I don't like Brock Lesnar because he there's been situations where he's not agreed with Vince McMahon. He's been scheduled to be on Raw, and he just he walks out when he feels like it. And to me, when you walk out like that, you're walking out on the people that's paying admission for the show, and I'm not a big Brock fan, So.
Yeah, I can't say anything good or bad about him. I've run into him a few times. He's always been more than pleasant, and
yeah.
I have no idea what their arrangement is or what his agreement with them is, but at the same time, I would like to see if Brock's wearing the damn belt that he should be like any other wrestler. It's an insult to the other wrestlers if you're putting the belt around somebody's waist and then he only has to wrestle once in a while, or he only wrestles on the big pay-per-views, or and where I come from and most other guys come from my era, the guy who has the belt, he makes all the shots, he goes to all the towns, whether it's a big shot or a long shot or a small one, or it's just part of the deal. And if you were doing that back in the day where you had a guy who was wearing the belt but he only wrestled on weekends and was getting the same money and having all these special treatments, then it's not right.
Yeah, it's not, because when I was growing up, Bruce, when you were the world champion, you were out there every Monday night or Friday night, Saturday night, Sunday night wrestling. It wasn't like, okay, I've got the belt, so I only have to make this pay-per-view and this pay-per-view. You actually wrestled on the road all the time.
And the other boys know that too. If what it does is, in its own way, an insult to them, because it's basically saying he's better than you. He only has to wrestle once in a while, but he's getting paid more than you, and he doesn't have to put in as much effort, and you won't have that in any other business either, Justin. You wouldn't see, say, LeBron James or Peyton Manning or whoever's the big star in hockey, Jonathan Taves or something. You would not see them saying, "Oh, I'm only playing in this game and that game. I only play in the playoffs, or I only play in the big Stanley Cup game," or whatever. It's not like that. You have to, and wrestling's a team endeavor, aside from what it looks like. And I've never found it was good business to put one guy on a higher level than anyone else. I know when we used to bring in for guest shots people like Terry Funk or Andre the Giant or whatever, they would still make all the shows.
Yeah.
And with all the small towns, they traveled in the same vehicle with the other guys, and that was part of being one of the boys. That's a big part of it. So I have no idea what arrangement Brock has, and I guess on the other side, if you can get a deal like that where you only wrestle once in a while and you get paid 10 times more than everyone else and don't have to drop belts, and I guess take it, if you can get it. But at the same time, it's generally not the way that business is done,
Yeah, and Bruce, I wanted to get your thoughts on this too. What's your thoughts on, and I'll comment on this too, what's your thoughts on Sting being in the WWE finally? And if they're smart, they need to give the fans what they want. Like, I know for years, myself personally and many others have been wanting to see Sting versus The Undertaker, at least once in this lifetime.
Yeah, I was happy to see Sting finally come in. It's kind of bittersweet because, unfortunately, as most of us know, he's past his prime, and should have happened maybe 10 years ago or something like that. But I was pleased that Sting was out there. I've known him, Steve Borden, a pretty classy guy, and always been a guy who protected his image, and he was like legitimately one of the really legitimate superstars of WCW back in the day. So I was glad that he finally got brought back, and credit to Hunter or whoever for throwing him a bone or bringing him in and giving him a piece of the spotlight. My only complaint with the match itself, and I'm not a big fan of sledgehammers and baseball bats and stuff like that. Any non-tough guy can injure somebody with a sledgehammer. If I come up and hit some UFC champion in kneecaps with a sledgehammer or a baseball bat, it doesn't make me tough, so so I'm not a big fan of that. It, to me, there's no place for bringing sledgehammers and baseball bats and weapons and crap into the ring. If it got to that point, you may as well bring a gun, and that wouldn't be entertaining, or it's just silly. So, but beyond that, I thought they had an all right match. I didn't think the finish was great. It didn't make that much sense to me, frankly. But even so, I'm glad, if nothing else, that Sting kind of had a WrestleMania moment, and I thought it was nice in its own way at the end of the match where they had all the, I think, sort of a tribute to all the legend types with Shawn and X-Pac and Billy Gunn and Road Dogg and Mick Foley or whoever else they had out there. It was kind of a who's who of 90s WCW X guys, but I thought that was nice in its own way, and it's just sort of in its own indirect way paying tribute to some of those legends, and I hope they got a good payoff for it.
Yeah, me too, Bruce. And here's an interesting thought that I had during this whole thing. I actually loved seeing, the NWO and DX actually do that at the end. But here's what I thought. My first thought was, I said, I wonder who X-Pac is really going to help, because originally he was NWO first. So I said, is he going to help DX, or is he going to cross back over to the NWO? So that's what was going through my mind when I seen X-Pac come out.
Yeah, I was glad to see him get a chance. He's a pretty decent guy. I've talked with him on occasion. He's been on my Heartbeat radio show and all like that. Always a pretty nice guy, Sean Waltman, and so I was glad to see him getting brought back. You know, hopefully he's got his life back together. I heard he had a few problems a while back. So
yeah,
hopefully things are getting better for him.
Yeah, and I actually years ago, Bruce, I actually met him in person, and he was a really nice guy, and I'm sure he would probably remember who I was. So
yeah, I always thought him to be a nice kid, Sean Waltman, pretty dedicated, and you know, he had a lot of passion for the wrestling business. So I'm glad they're treating him and some of those other guys with the respect they deserve. So
yeah, and one thing that's on my mind tonight, Bruce, do you think here in the near future we will see the Hart family back in the WWE ring for maybe a reunion or something like that? How cool would that be?
You never know. I'd be happy if it happened. If it didn't, I wouldn't be losing any sleep either. But I'd be happy for a number of reasons. You know, I would hope, if nothing else, it would be for the benefit of the business. You know, that you know, some of them can offer something or bring something that enhances or serves some good purpose for the wrestling business. So I never know. I long since passed holding my breath for anything or, you know, losing sleep over anything like that. But if they were to, you know, do something that had some benefit to them and serve some purpose, then that would be fine with me too.
Yeah, and I wanted to mention, Bruce, I don't like how they're putting these celebrities in the Hall of Fame like we discussed earlier, but I will say that I thought it was really cool that they put Connor in the Hall of Fame, because he was a true fan of the WWE, and he was truly fighting a real battle, so I thought it was cool that he got the first ever Warrior Award ever. I thought that was so cool.
I think the sentiment was really nice, you know, that they, and as you said, it was too bad that he's not alive to appreciate it, but I think it meant a lot, obviously, to his family and people that knew him or admired him, so I think that it was nice, and in its own way, it was a nice tribute to Jim Hellwig, who had unfortunately passed away right after the Hall of Fame last year. So I was told by people that were down there that it was very emotional. There was a lot of people shedding tears, and they were quite moved by it. So I'm happy that it was well received as it was. So, and I give credit to WWE for, you know, doing that in a respectful way, you know, paying respect, and I think it added a touch of class to the whole thing.
I do too, because to me that just shows real class. But at the same time, they need to stop putting these celebrities in Because to me, it's like, it's almost like political, like politics.
Yeah, I agree with you, Justin. I'm not sure what their rationale or their objective is.
Mm-hmm.
In its own way, I find it just from having been in the ring and having been around all those guys who did earn their way into the Hall of Fame and all like that. To me, there's something not quite right about putting some guy who's appeared for one WrestleMania or had one cameo appearance. No offense to any of those guys like Arnold or Bob Uecker or whoever else, but something not quite right when they're put into the Hall of Fame essentially on the same level as some guy who dedicated his heart and soul to that business, and and there's a lot of guys even more, kind of unjust is the fact that there's a lot of guys who should be in that Hall of Fame that aren't,
mm-hmm.
and yet there's people that had one match, or I wouldn't even say they had a match, they just put in an appearance, like Bob Uecker or whoever else, and they're accorded the same, tribute and the moment and the spotlight and the speech, and you're going like something wrong with this. You want to induct some guy into the Baseball Hall of Fame just because he did a guest pitch at the World Series game or sang the national anthem or some damn thing. It's something not quite right about that. But I have no idea what their rationale is. I assume it's because they're getting publicity. It's good for business, as they say it. If they have Arnold Schwarzenegger or Sylvester Stallone or whoever, but at the same time, they don't really, to me, warrant being inducted into Hall of Fame when some of these other guys put their lives on the line and their bodies on the line, and they ate, slept, and drank wrestling and trained and blood, sweat, and tears, whatever, and they're not in it, or some of the ones that are in it are probably saying, geez, he was there for one WrestleMania, took a few bows, did virtually nothing, and he's in the Hall too, It's like, I don't know. To me, it doesn't make a lot of sense, and I don't think it, in its own way, makes them look good.
Yeah, and honestly, Bruce, I think that this would be cool. I would love to see more people like me that's down to earth, that has maybe a physical challenge, like work for WWE, being a manager, doing like commentary. That would be pretty cool,
Yeah, I agree, and I think in the one sense I give some credit to, I believe people like Linda McMahon, and some of them are, very supportive of a lot of these initiatives like that. So every now and then giving credit where it's due. I see them, I know a few years ago they had that other kid that was an amputee, Zach Gowen or whatever his name was. And I thought that was nice in its own way that they, but there's a fine line between doing it in a respectful way and doing it in an exploitative way just to sell tickets. So I think you got to do it tastefully, and at no point should you ever be doing it just to make yourself look good or to, get some brownie points from it or whatever the cliche is, So.
Yeah.
But
And Bruce, how is Stampede Wrestling doing?
We're still training some guys, and I'm just trying to. And I'm glad that there's people like yourself and others out there. I've said it for a long time. The grassroots of the wrestling business need to be re-sown. There needs to be, a revitalization of the fan base of wrestling all over North America, all over the world, and I'm hoping that that's my primary objective in doing anything with Stampede Wrestling or training young guys. And all this is, when I came into the business, there was all these so-called territories, which were where all the wrestlers were coming from, and there was so many incredible wrestlers when I was growing up and when I was young, and it was great for the fans and great for the wrestling business that there was this grassroots like that. And unfortunately, that seems to be a thing of the past. And the wrestling business is suffering because of that. There's, anyone who saw the business back in the day or was one of the wrestlers back in the day, if you talk to any of them, none of them will tell you that the business is in better shape today than, because it isn't. And they need to revisit going back, replenishing the supply of wrestlers, and the biggest losers are the people who have lost the most in this are the fans.
Mm-hmm.
When I was a kid, or when I was breaking into the business and all like that, all over North America you could go to wrestling matches every week. I know in Calgary you'd go every Friday night, and we were running 6-7 shows a week every week, and the fans could go down there for $6 or $8 and see these incredible wrestlers like Dynamite Kid and Brett and Davey Boy and Owen and Brian Pillman and all these guys on a weekly basis. And I could go down to Texas and you'd see the same with Terry Funk and Dickie Murdoch and Harley Race. And I'd go to Florida and see the interns and the assassins and everywhere there was great wrestling, and the talent moved around, and the fans were getting it all, and nowadays they come to Calgary maybe once every 12 or 18 months, and I don't know how often they get down to West Virginia, maybe once or twice a year at the most,
And it's not televised, it's just a house show, if that. So, I mean, we don't really
feel like you're a part of it, and I hate to say it, on a lot of the house shows, if it's not a TV taping or a damned pay-per-view or something, the wrestlers just go through the motions, you can put anything into it, and that's not the way to sustain your fan base. You need to always remember the fans are the ones paying the bills. The fans are the ones who are making it all possible. And on any given night, you owe it to the fans to go out and give them their money's worth and make them want to come back. That was second nature to us out here, and almost everywhere else you'd go. And it's not like that anymore, it's, kind of very hit and miss and very disrespectful to the fans, and nobody, and I always used to tell the wrestlers that don't lose sight of who's paying the bills here. It's the fans. They're the ones who are, if not for them, there wouldn't be any damn wrestling business. So always, give them their money's worth and make them feel like they made a wise choice in going to the damn wrestling matches.
Absolutely, Bruce. And I wanted to mention too, Bruce. I watched the Hart documentary very closely, and it was very emotional for me to watch that, because you guys have suffered so much tragedy in and outside of the ring, and yet you're still contributing to the business. And even losing your home in the Hart dungeon, that had to be very, very difficult.
Yeah, very much so. And I appreciate the compliments, Justin. I think my dad used to say something: without passion, nothing great was ever accomplished, and that was always one of the things that was the first things you notice with my dad in the wrestling business. Was he had a great deal of passion and respect for the wrestling business, and he appreciated what it had done for him, and that was the case with so many of the old timers I used to see. You hear me alluding to some of those names, like the Funks and the Races and the Ray Stevens and the Killer Kowalskis and guys like that, and Abdullahs and them, and almost all of them had a great deal of passion for the business and a great deal of respect for it, and they were very protective of it. And I don't like to be railing or denouncing things today, but all too often I see a lot of guys who haven't paid their dues that much. They got in, relatively easy, and it's kind of easy come, easy go, and it comes out in what they do in the ring. You can almost sense they don't care that much, or they're indifferent, or they're not going to any great lengths to protect the ostensible propriety of the business. And I think that's something that would be enhanced if you had, in the old days, there was always 10 or 20 guys chomping at the bit to replace you. So you always, felt obliged to go out and work hard, because, there was other guys just as good and just as hungry, maybe hungrier, that were wanting your position. So in its own way, it was an inducement to go out and work hard. And I think if there was more wrestlers chomping at the bit to get to the next level and all like that, not only would it be good for the fans just to see it again on a regular basis, but it would inspire or motivate or compel the so-called superstars at the top to keep working hard, or otherwise they're going to be replaced. And a little competition or a little bit of anything like that is good. You got some baseball player who's getting complacent. All you need to do is have some hotshot rookie who can, throw a 100-mile-an-hour heater, or can, hit 60 home runs, his position, and he's either going to, up his game, or he's going to fall by the wayside. And wrestling needs some of that healthy competition, too. You need more guys that are vying to be the next big thing, and I'm hopeful that that might prove to be the case in the future, with maybe territories being revived and a new breed of wrestlers coming up, and all like that. It'd be good for the fans, good for the business, and ultimately good for the wrestlers. A little competition never hurt anyone,
Yeah, and I gotta say, Bruce, and I don't mean any disrespect by this, because I love Daniel Bryan, but when I seen your brother Brett doing the yes chant, I felt a little weird. I'm like, I can't see Brett doing the yes chant, but whatever.
It looked to me a little contrived. I agree with you. I'm not sure if he was told to do that or whether it was something he chose to do, but it seemed to me a little cheesy or a little artificial,
Yeah, that's what I thought too, and something that I'll never forget about your brother's entrance. It's timeless for me. He would always go to a fan and give his shades away to a fan in his entrance, and I always thought that was one of the coolest things ever.
Yeah, I agree. But yeah, I think it's very well taken. What you said, though, is a good perspective.
Mm-hmm.
I agree with you on that. I felt the same about that. And,
Mm-hmm.
I'm not really taking anything away from him, but I think part of his appeal was he was always himself, or was always, his character, and that didn't appear to be the case when he's doing that, So, but,
yeah.
But yeah, I certainly appreciate your having invited me to join you on your show tonight, Justin. It's been nice sharing perspectives with you, and I have the utmost respect for you and your program. You do a great job, and it's straight from the heart, as they say. You're very sincere, and you have great insights into not only the wrestling business but life in general. So I'm appreciative of that, and I'd be more than happy to come on again if you ever need a guest or need a perspective or whatever. Just I'm a phone call away, as they say. So
Absolutely, Bruce, and I do have three final thoughts or questions for you, Bruce, before I wrap up with you here.
Okay.
One is for me. Is it okay if I actually try to tweet Natalia and let her know that I know you? Try to get in touch with her, because I know she's on Twitter.
Yeah, I'm sure she'd be happy to oblige. I'm sure she'd be a great guest on your show, and let me know if you have any success with that, Justin. If you have trouble getting a hold of her, I'll try to hook up with my sister and her mother and see if I can do something on your behalf.
I would really appreciate it, Bruce, because I would love to get her on the show, because if she would be on my show, not only would she be the second Hart to appear on the Justin Harvey Show, but she would be the first ever WWE diva to appear on my show, and I think that would just be awesome.
I'll see if I can put in a word, Justin, and I'll try to get a hold of her on Twitter or whatever, or Facebook or whatever first, and then if you're not having any luck, let me know, and we'll see if we can get something set up.
And that would be great, Bruce. And one of my last questions before my very last question, with this Stardust thing that they're doing right now with Cody Rhodes, do you think that they're trying to recreate Goldust, like Goldust 2.0 for this generation?
Yeah, for me, I can't say I followed it that much, but for me, that whole thing's, not to be knocking anything, to me it's lame. I don't know what the heck they're trying to do. I thought Goldust was all right. It wasn't great. It was all right back in the day, but the whole thing with Stardust and Goldust and whatever else, it's an old saying we used to have, whatever you do, have a point. I have no idea what the point, where they're going with it, or why they even switched Cody from whatever he was doing to that, and now it seems to be just kind of fizzling out. And so, I don't know. For me, Goldust is actually a pretty decent worker, so I think he's been wasted, and the whole thing's kind of screeched to a halt, or it should be halted if it hasn't, and that's one of the things I see down there. I don't want to digress, but too many, they start these things and then they just seem to, die for no, I have no idea what, like stuff like Nexus, and I'll see them, this Mizdow thing to me is going that direction now, where, bad news, Barrett, I've got some bad news. It's, you're not doing it anymore, the next thing they got Ryback, feed me more, and then he's heel and a face, and Bray Wyatt and the Wyatt family and the Sheephead and all that other, that's just sort of not happening anymore. Like, I don't know what, it's too much of that kind of stuff, where they start something and then they, the Spirit Squad and all this other nonsense, and then it just seems to die on the vine, So I don't know.
And my last question for you, Bruce, and then I'll let you talk about who you got coming up on your podcast, because I know you have a wonderful podcast, which is on Tuesday nights now. So I'll let you talk a little bit about that before we wrap up. But my last question, Bruce, is I actually thought of this the other day, that I thought it would be interesting to actually see a tag team division for the Divas.
Yeah, I think the only thing that is an impediment to that, Justin, is they don't have enough Divas that can work. That's smoke and mirrors. I've actually been relatively impressed, quite honestly, with Paige and AJ and the Bellas. They actually working pretty good, having some decent matches, not too much of the bullshit, but the biggest problem is they don't have that many Divas that know a wrist lock from a wristwatch, half them look like they are just glorified strippers, and that's maybe what they are, I don't even know, but they need to get more Divas in there that actually can wrestle, that actually can go out and have a match and don't just flash their butts or their boobs or whatever the hell, and they need to put more emphasis on Divas that can actually wrestle, not just for sex appeal or eye candy for perverts or whatever, so.
Yeah, and Bruce, before I get you to talk about your podcast, I'm actually planning on sending you photos from my induction, so it should be a fun weekend, and I have to do a...
When is that, Justin? Is that, when is the date and place for that?
Indianapolis, Indiana. It's on the 18th of April, so 2 weeks away.
Well, just not far off the Indy 500, but I'm happy to hear that. Where's that at is it a MMA or a UFC related event? Or? It's martial arts. It's like the Martial Arts Hall of Fame, and it's been around since the
it's been around since the 70s, and people like Don the Dragon Wilson and
Bruce Lee and
and several. It's kind of like
Chuck Norris. And,
it's kind of like the WWE, but on the martial arts side.
Well, I congratulate you on that, Justin. If you ever get a DVD, if anyone takes filming it or doing a video of it, let me know. I'd love to see it. And so I hope that goes well for you, Justin. And as to your other question, we do have quite a few really noteworthy guests coming up. Our guest next week is the legendary Abdullah the Butcher, who was a huge attraction up here back in the 70s for my dad and was one of the great villains in wrestling history. So he's coming on. And then we have a special show coming up about a month from this weekend, May 3rd, which would have been my dad's 100th birthday.
Wow.
And we have we've extended invitations to, and I believe we're going to have guests like Terry Funk and Harley Race and Bob Backlund and Mick Foley, and I'm told Hulk Hogan's supposed to be maybe joining us, and just a lot of the old legends from the past, guys like Ivan Koloff and Bruno Sammartino, and so we're expecting a lot of them just to call in and just pay their respects to Stu or some such things. So that's one of our shows we're really looking forward to. And the week after that, oddly enough, which would have been May 7th, would have been my brother Owen's 50th birthday. So we're looking to pay tribute to Owen on that particular show the week after my dad's 100. So those should be interesting shows.
Well, I will definitely try to, for those shows, Bruce, if you don't mind, for those shows, I may like to call in and participate and show my respects.
Yeah, maybe I'll have Bob Johnson call you, Justin, and he can, we're having a lot of pre-taped, just like 30-second or 1 minute happy 100th to Stu Hart from Hulk Hogan or from Bruno Sammartino or whatever. So I'd be happy to have Bob pre-tape an interview and have, this is Justin Ray Harvey wishing Stu Hart 100 happy 100th or best wishes or tributes to the legend or some such thing,
Absolutely, and if Bob can't call me for that, what I can do, Bruce, is I can actually record like a 30-second MP3 or something if something happens that he's not able to call me to record it. But yeah, I would love that.
I'll tell Bob to give you a call and he can, but yeah, it would be very, it'd be nice to have you participate in that, Justin. It would be kind of cool.
Oh, absolutely, because Bruce, I may not have a lot of ring experience. I mean, I have a little bit because where I was in a match, but I love the Hart family just as much as anyone else, and a lot of the pain that you felt.
And the key thing with you, Justin, that makes you special is your passion, and you got a lot of heart. So that's important, So I have a great deal of respect for people that overcome adversity and keep a smile on their face. So it means a lot to me. So I am honored to count you amongst my friends.
Absolutely, Bruce, and if you don't mind, I may even mention that in my speech, and it will be my speech is going to be taped, so I'll make sure that you get to see that.
Well, I'll look forward to seeing that, Justin, and you have a great time down there, and congratulations. That's a great honor, and I'm sure you're beaming with pride, and you certainly should be, and I hope it's everything that you expect it to be.
Absolutely, Bruce, because there's only one word to describe how I feel. I kind of feel like I'm champion of the world right now, like, that I actually have a title,
Yeah, well, good on you, Justin. It's certainly well deserved, and I'm sure you're going to have a great time down there, and I look forward to hearing all the details.
Mm-hmm. And I wanted to tell you too, Bruce, if everything works out, I'm actually scheduled. I don't know when I will be filming, but I'm actually supposed to be scheduled to be in a martial arts film.
Well, that's great. I hope it proves to be a lot of fun, and I'm looking forward to seeing if it hits the theaters.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely, Bruce. And like I said, we'll definitely come up with a plan for us to actually get to meet and maybe talk some wrestling, face to face. I think that would be pretty cool.
Absolutely. Keep me in mind then, Justin, and I'll look forward to talking to you the next time.
You too, Bruce. And do you have any final thoughts? Are you on Twitter yet, or you just do the Facebook thing? Or?
I'm not even sure if I am. Forgive my ignorance. I don't know about all the Twittering and tweeting and Facebooking and all that stuff. But I'll keep you posted. And I'd just like to thank you and your listeners, for lending me an ear, as they say. I'm flattered and honored that you saw fit to have me on, and I enjoyed talking to you. As I said before, I have utmost respect for you, and you've got a great attitude, and you overcome a lot of adversity, and continue to every day. So good on you, and I thank you for inviting me on, and I look forward to the next time.
Absolutely, Bruce, and I wanted to tell you, and I think you'll get a good laugh at this. I wanted to close with this. When I was a kid a few years ago, my big brother put me in the figure 4 leg lock, and that is very, very painful.
Yeah. Break a leg, as they say, Justin.
Exactly so. But I really appreciate you being on the program, Bruce. Tell everybody that I love them, and if they need me in their corner, I'm there.
That means a lot to us, Justin, and I certainly will tell them that. And you take care. Have a very happy Easter weekend, and God bless.
You have been listening to The Justin Harvey Show here on the World Martial Arts Radio Network. Be sure to tune in again next week for his latest show. Thank you for listening.